Hello everyone and welcome back to the Bullet Chess Championship. It's the finals, not the grand final, only the final. You know that after this is over, we still have more bullets to enjoy. It's Hikaru Nakamura versus Alireza Firouzja. As you can see, I've reverted back to the old interface. I have fixed the aspect ratio though, so until I come up with something new, I will be using this one like I mentioned in the previous few videos. So let's check it out. It's one of the games. I'm not going to spoil the result for some of you that haven't seen it yet, as some of you were very unhappy with that in the previous video. So let's just check it out and then we are going to discuss what happened. So Hikaru with the white pieces opens with pawn to e4, and like I said, this is 1+0 bullet chess. Incredibly quick moves are required here in order to just be able to compete, and of course incredibly precise moves. Some of the games have over 90% accuracy, so I mean, like I said, it's just absolutely incredible. Pawn to e5, knight to c3, Hikaru goes for the Vienna game, knight to c6, and bishop to c4. Now we have bishop to c5, and no, for those of you who are wondering, you cannot play the Evans Gambit here because there's a knight on c3, so you would have some problems trying to execute that. So d3, and now d6 is the most common move here, and pretty much everyone plays it, but knight to a5 by Alireza, trying to mix it up a little bit. Hikaru just plays knight to f3, Alireza grabs the light square bishop, which is usually excellent, d captures, and now pawn to d6. And here, there are some games where queen to d3, also h3 is a known move, but here Hikaru just castles, and it is now as of move 7 that we have a completely new game. So Hikaru can't really claim any sort of an edge here, as he did lose the bishop pair. Also, his pawns are doubled, but he does have very nice control over the d5 square. So, okay, knight to e7. We have knight to a4 now going after Alireza's bishop, and pawn to b6. Alireza wants to do the same, and should Hikaru capture, then just b captures, and okay, you have a nice semi-open b file for your rook. You have very nice control over the d4 square. So not something to actually give black for no reason. So pawn to a3, Hikaru just prepares pawn to b4 and pawn to a5. Alireza of course stops it. We have pawn to c3 and bishop to d7, putting pressure on the knight here. We have pawn to b4, and now Alireza trades. Bishop captures on a4, attacks Hikaru's queen on d1. Queen captures on a4 comes with check, and of course you are wondering, but what about the bishop on c5 hanging? Isn't this just completely winning for white? Well, not quite, because there's b5. Now the queen is hanging, and of course if you move the queen, then we're going to play a captures on b4 and so on. And if you capture further, which isn't all that great, for example c6, b4, now a captures on b4 opens up a discovery on the queen, and once the queen moves, now you will also play b captures on c3, and it's a perfectly fine position. Let's say captures and castles. So instead Hikaru plays the absolute best move. He goes back with queen to b3. We have a captures on b4, c captures on b4, attacks the bishop, and now a nice Zwischenzug by Alireza. B captures on c4, attacks Hikaru's queen, captures, and now bishop to b6, and just rook to d1. So now you have to be careful. Knight captures on e5 is the threat, as the d pawn is pinned, so Alireza defends it, and now pawn to a4. What you can see out of all of this is that even though the material is completely even, Hikaru does have the passed a-pawn, and whatever happens in this game, he should always be a little bit better. So castles, and now pawn to a5, chases away the bishop, bishop a7, and now bishop to d2. So Alireza's bishop is an absolute monster here. Hikaru's bishop not all that impressive. You can't even put it on some long diagonal here. So chances are Hikaru will trade it off for this strong bishop on a7. We have king to h8, getting off of this diagonal, and now rook 8 to c1. We have rook to c8, adding a defender to the c7 pawn, and the bishop to e3. Very principled move, just trading off your piece that isn't doing all that much for your opponent's piece, which is just excellent. So bishop captures, we have f captures. Yes, this doubles Hikaru's pawns, but also he gains control over the f4 square, so he doesn't have to worry about knight to f4 or anything like that. Also, you don't have to worry about the queen entering the game, the knight is covering that, but you have to worry about knight to h4, and this is exactly what Alireza plays, but Hikaru just defends the knight with queen to e2. Here, it's a very, very rich position, and you could win the game on the spot by playing knight captures on h4, but remember, it's a 1+0 bullet, and after queen captures, there's rook captures on d6, just snatching another pawn, and now the problem is, of course, you're down too much material, and of course if you capture, then you just either get checkmated if the queen is captured, or if you don't, then king to g8, you defend, but then just queen to c4, and you now have two connected pass pawns, of course completely winning. But okay, it's bullet. Hikaru played queen back to e2. We have pawn to f5, and now e captures on f5. We have knight captures on f5, and now pawn to e4, chasing away the knight from such an active square. And the problem is, of course, wherever the knight goes, you will most likely play knight captures on e5, as the d pawn is still pinned. We already discussed that. You could play knight h6 here. Okay, knight captures on e5 is not going to be that impressive now, but you know, you can just play pawn to b5, pawn to a6, and continue pushing. So it's not the best, but also the knight on h6 isn't all that great. And of course, here if you play knight captures on e5, then comes c5, and it's just not as bad. Also, the g4 square is nicely covered. So what do you play here? If you try to play pawn to b5, then you lose the a5 pawn. So it would be an okay way to play, but it's really weird putting your knight on h6. Alireza decided to give up a pawn. He played knight to e7, and Hikaru captured it. Knight captures on e5. We have queen to e8, and now knight back to f3. We have knight to g6, and now pawn to g3, taking away the f4 and h4 squares from Alireza's knight here. Queen to e6, and now we have knight to d4, attacking the queen here, queen to h3, and now rook to f1. Knight to f5 also just a beautiful move, taking away the f file from the black rook, but rook to f1 also very nice. We have knight to e5 by Alireza, and now just pawn to a6. Hikaru continues pushing his pass pawn, and now pawn to h5. So as you can see, there's no more counting pawns here. It's do or die. No more time to spend on which pawn goes where, and of course Alireza just wants to play h4, open up the position, and somehow try to attack the white king. Also, knight coming to g4 could be an issue if the queen ever moves from the defense of the h2 pawn. So here, pawn to a7. Again, you have a beautiful pass pawn on a7. Pawn to h4 by Alireza. And now rook captures on f8 with check. Rook captures, and now queen to h5 with check. We have king to g8, and now even queen captures on h4. So while you are winning material, you are also sort of allowing Alireza back into the game. Queen to d7, and now queen to h5. Again, rook to f1 was absolutely crushing, but Hikaru played queen to h5, and now Alireza can bounce back in the game. We have pawn to c5, attacks the knight and the pawn here, so you have to trade, or knight to f5, and now queen captures on a7, and now Alireza is completely back in the game. B captures on c5, we have d captures on c5, and now king to g2. We have queen to a2 with check and king to h3. And now we have queen to e6 and rook captures on c5. Now putting pressure on the knight here, so the queen can't really move just anywhere. And what you should play is rook to f6. It's such a strong move, also prevents the knight from moving because of rook to h6. But Alireza played pawn to g6 with a double attack on the knight and on the queen. But this, of course, completely blunders the game for him, and I'm sure you guys can see why. Feel free to pause the video and win the game for Hikaru here while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on spotting this incredible tactic. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is rook captures on e5. That's it. It's as simple as that. Just remove the defender of the g6 pawn, and you're winning. Of course, now if you try trading queens, then you're going to end up this being down a knight, and the knight here is defended, so you can't play that. So Alireza played queen captures on e5, but now comes knight to h6 with check, and now also Hikaru will win Alireza's queen. King to h8, queen captures on e5 with check, and he was in this position on move 44 that Alireza Firouzja resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. Of course, you are completely winning, and for those of you who for some reason enjoy it when I finish the games until the very end, okay, let's see something like king to h7, queen to e7 with check. You can even pick up a rook here. Let's say a queen captures on f8, king h7, and now you will box in the black king and checkmate him. Let's say whatever you play. Let's say pawn to g5, you will play pawn to e5, king to g6. Now you're going to play queen to g8 with with check, king to h6, king to f5, and that's pretty much it. King to h5, and queen captures on g5, and this will, of course, be checkmate. I don't know why. Sometimes when even it doesn't matter how much white or black is up in material, some of you really enjoy it when I finish the games. So there you have it. And yeah, very nicely done by Hikaru. He also won the match 16.5 to 12.5, and I wrote on Twitter something that some people didn't seem to agree with. I said that in bullet time control, but not like 1+1 bullet or 1+ something, in 1+0, that Hikaru is definitely the best. Then it could be Alireza, and only then Magnus, as 1+0 is very, very different from 1+1. Now Magnus, of course, will get his chance to climb back up and face Hikaru in the grand final, but until then we'll just have to stick with that. And Alireza actually replied to my tweet. He said that it's still early, that we're gonna see what happens, but yeah, I don't know. And I also think Asios mentioned on Twitter that it's a very much different 1+0 where you are playing, meaning on which platform, because on chess.com, even when you pre-move, you lose time. You lose like a fraction of a second, and on Lichess, when you pre-move, you don't lose any time. So it's if you're a good pre-mover, you get a lot more moves in on Lichess. Also one of the reasons why I prefer playing on Lichess. But we'll see. I think on Lichess in 1+0, Magnus, trumps everyone. On chess.com, not really sure, and with 1+1, Magnus, I believe, crushes anyone on any platform. But we'll see. This is 1+0 on chess.com, so it's a different beast. So yeah, that's the game. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know if you have an opinion on that. It's it's a weird thing to debate, but so is pretty much everything on the internet. I would like to thank James Eugene Cashman, Brad Roth, Michael Marshall, BulletChessThriller.com, and John Malpass for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.